Welcome to Tech with Victor. In today's video, I'll be discussing something very important that every developer must master. It's called debugging. So in this era of artificial intelligence, everyone can generate codes, boilerplates, and entire projects in minutes using AI. But one skill that remains irreplaceable is knowing how to debug effectively. So debugging is not just about fixing errors, or it's more about understanding what's happening in your code. So whether you're working on your code or you are reading someone else's code, debugging is the key to solving problems efficiently. So today we'll explore 3 important debugging techniques. So stick around because the third one, it's widely used and it works with any programming language. So let's dive in. So the first technique is debugging with the print statement or console.log statement in JavaScript. So if you are in any other programming language, you can also apply these principles at some point or a specific point in your code. Try to print out or log out the result of each levels. Now we need to have going to create a simple if function for the demonstration. So I'm going to write a code now for us to see how to learn the debugging with the console.log statement in JavaScript. In Python, you can use a print statement. So I made a setup. You can check the GitHub repository. The link will be given in the description for this setup file. It's just the normal boilerplate index.html file, auto-generated, and then nothing in the styles. Favicon icon is just the icon on the title bar. Okay, so let's go to the JavaScript folder. So I will minimize this folder. So now I want to create the sample function I want to use. So we create an ify. You can say function, and then takes our variable app, and then comes the curly bracket. So inside this, we're going to use strict, and then comes another parentheses, the semicolon at the end. So we can have window.app is equal to window.app, or returns empty object. I discuss the ify in one of my videos. You can check the link in the description if you don't understand this syntax of this ify. So we just want to create an immediately invoked function expression. Using strict means that the code will be executed in a strict mode. For example, you cannot use undeclared variables. Okay, so this also helps you to check errors on the code at runtime. All right, please check out my video on how to use the ify if you are not familiar with the syntax of this ify. So we want to create a function called app.divide is equal to function, and then this function takes in 2 parameters, curly bracket, click on tab. So in this we say x divided by 7 by y. First we need to return the result, return x divided by y, and repeat, put the semicolon here. Then we can also add another method. We can say app.complex formula equals function, which takes in the value x, curly brackets, and here we can say let result equals x times 3 plus 2, and then we can say x plus equals 4. Then we can say result plus equals this dot divide results by 2, and then we can return the result. The idea is, so here we have 2 methods, app.divide and then app.complex formula. So this method has the ability, the first method is that it takes 2 parameters. So then it does the division and then returns the value. So that's what we want to do. So of course I have intentionally made some programming errors here so that we can learn how to debug and see what went wrong. Then we have the app.complexFormula method, which takes in a value, and then that value, it multiplies it by 3 and then add 2. It will then save the result from this calculation inside the result, and then we add 4 to the result. Furthermore, we use the divide method from this first function here to divide our result from here by 2, and then save that output into result, and then we return result finally. So let's walk through an example to see what we should expect. So we can just say console.log. So let's say complex formula takes in the value of, let's say, 23. So what do you think we should expect on the console? Okay, so it's saying undefined because the first error, I want to print complex formula, right? Remember, in the IFI, we need to first call on the variable from our IFI function, which is the app. So that is saying that if we do that, we are specifically saying, please, I want to use the complex formula method from the app IFI function. So if you read the error here, it says on count reference error, complex formula is not defined. It says this on line 17, complex formula is not defined. Oh, you said, oh, why? But I have complex formula. The reason is because complex formula is in the app IFI function. So to access the complex formula, you have to call on the app. So we can see app.complex formula. So if I save, we have 106 in the result, 106.5. Is this what we expect? Now I'm using maths to show you debugging skills because it is easier to see where things go wrong and where we can make corrections, or it is easier to see the flow. Okay, so is this the result that we expect to get? Let's walk through the example. With an argument of 23 to complex formula, so we go to where we define complex formula. So that means 23 comes here, which means our x will be 23. So results here will be 23 times 3, which is 69, and then 69 plus 2, 71. Okay, then we want to say that result that we have, 71 plus, in the next line, 71 plus 4, so we should have 75 on line 10, and then in line 12, the 75 that we should have 75 at this point. We should have 71 at this point, and then the 75 that we have from here, we put it as a result here, and then call on the divide function to divide it by 2. So what is the divide function? Divide function takes in 2 arguments and then does the division. Argument 1 divided by argument 2. So the argument we have here is 75. So 75 divided by 2 here should give us, at the end of this place, we should have 37.5. 37.5. But on the outputs, we are getting 106.5. So, which means something went wrong somewhere, and that is why we need to debug. We need to say, okay, where did we miss something? And the first debugging technique we'll be looking at is using the console.log or the print statements to check every output that you get, and then you check what you are getting, your expectation versus the output. So where can we begin from? So we have to begin from the first place here. So we say result is equal to x times 3 plus 2. So are we getting 71? How do we know? We use console.log. We print result here, then I run it again. So we got 71 on the screen. So which means our expectation and the calculation at this level was correct. Then I can comment this out. Then on the next line, we expect 75. So we now say console.log. Now, you could actually see the error down. If you would have seen this error a long time ago, of course, but I intentionally left this. In line 13, what we are doing here, we are saying x plus equals 4. So which means we are adding to x 4. So if you print x here, we get 27. But the result that I want to get is 75. So the problem was, you see that your expectation and your calculation, something went wrong here. So the issue here is that we're adding 4 to x, and x was 23. So 4 plus 23 will give us 27. So what we were supposed to do here is to add 4 to the result, to the output from this result. So instead of using x here, we need to change this to result. And then if we see the output again, I need to console.log results. See the output again, you see 75. So our expectation versus calculation is met here. So I can comment this, and then but still we are getting 112.5. Then we go to the next line, which is the last line, this point. So what is the problem here? What is the problem here? Now we get result comes here. This will be 75 divided by 2. Normally should give us 37.5. Now we don't have much here, so we need to go to the divide method where we describe this function. We go here, so we say it's taking 2 arguments and then making the division. Okay, so when we came here, everything looks correct. If you have 75 comes here, divided by 2, it should return the value. So we now have to deal with line 17. So this is where our problem is coming from. Let's look at it critically. We take in 75 divided by 2. Expected result is supposed to be 37.5, but we are getting 112. Why 2.5? Why is this the case? Now if you look at your line very carefully, you could see that we are doing a plus equals here. So this is where the mistake is coming from. We are supposed to do the division and then store the result in result, not adding the result. So what is happening here is, what you are doing here, you are saying result is equal to results plus the output from the division. So this is what this line is doing. And if you want to see it now, it will be, that means what we did was, our result will be, what was the previous result that we had, which is 75. So that's 75 plus, when we divide 75 by 2, we have 37.5, right? So that means it will be, we add 37.5, and that will give us 112.5. So you see where the error is. So if you do plus equals, this is what you are saying. Result is equal to result plus the result of the division, which is 75 plus 37.5 equals 5.5. So to correct this, you simply need to remove this plus sign, and if we run this now, we get our output of 37.5. Now our logs shows the correct value. So this is one way of debugging using the console.log print statement, and of course it's a lot of trial and error process in debugging. So, but remember, console.log is your best friend when tracking errors step by step. And of course, there are also ways you could print out some error messages on your screen. For instance, if you are expecting something and you're expecting the code to run into an error, or you want to be notified if there's an error somewhere. So we could also use console.log. You could use let me see where to put this. So if here at this point we have plus equals, right? So I'm expecting that, okay, there should be an error here, so I could just say console.error, and then you could print out the error message on the screen and say, let's say okay, yeah, I could print out an error message and say okay, let's do this. Result equals this. We could print out an error here and say division by 0 is not allowed. We just printed, oh, division by 0 is not allowed. For instance, you put an if statement here and said, oh, when someone tries to divide by 0, print out this error, and then you could see the exact place the error happened. And inside of error, you could also use the one method, and you can say console.log 1. So if you save this, we see a yellow warning sign, say division by 0 is not allowed. So these are ways that will help you with the debugging process. Try out this, and of course, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button or to support me to reach a wider audience. The second technique that we're looking at is using the dev tool. So every browser has a built-in debugger, which is incredibly powerful for front-end development, and I'm going to show you. So it's not just limited to JavaScript programmers alone. As long as you use the front end, you need to learn how to use the built-in debugger of your browser. So when you open the dev tool, you can do this by right-clicking on the page and clicking on inspect. So you can then click on the console, and of course we have the correct result here. So I'm going to have to undo the changes we made earlier. So now we're having 106.5. So now if you click on sources, so here, click on sources, you will see the files or your source code. So that's why it's important not to put funny messages in your source code, because other persons can also view this, your clients can view this. And also do not put secure information like passwords on your source code. Of course, there are ways to do this. You use API, and API is a topic for another day. So how do we debug using the debugger tool? When you click on your source code, you'll be able to see your source code. So the next thing we do is that we put a breakpoint. You could observe, okay, where should I put it? You have to be intuitive about this. Which point am I getting the error, or where do you feel that you're going to get an error? So from our previous explanation, we realized that we had an error at this point, so we could put the breakpoint here. So this point here is where let me put it down here. Oh, we cannot. I was trying to put a breakpoint at the comment, but so it doesn't work that way. We can right click to remove a breakpoint. Okay, so we now put a breakpoint here, and let's try to run the script again. So you could see that it is paused on breakpoint, and you can also see here paused in debugger. Okay, so if you extend this, you see that it is loading and paused in debugger. So this is only paused for you, not for every other person using the web page. Okay, so now we could use the step into to go through the lines step by step and to see what we are getting. Okay, so one interesting about this is that you could hover on the variables and you'll see the values. So if you hover here on X, we could see that X is 23, and then if you hover on result is 71, which matches with our expectation of result 71. And then if you come here, X is still 23. If you click on step into, so it goes to divide. At this divide, result is still 71, and then 2. And then if we step into to go to the next line, it goes to the return. And here we have X is 71. You can see here, you can also see in the scope folder, here you have the local scope. You have X as 71 and Y as 2. Here X is 71, Y is 2. So you could see the values that your variables are at each point. And then if you still click on step into, it goes to do the return, the division, step into, and then it goes to 106. So the result here is 106. So you have to go through each lines to see, okay, what is the value I'm getting, and is this what is expected? Okay, so the step over, which is this, the step over is if you know that, oh, this line is correct. For instance, if I correct this line to say result equals to plus equals 4. So if I click on the step over, I'm saying, oh, I know that this line works. So when you get to this line, step over it. We don't need to waste time checking it here. If I click, it steps over that particular line. It doesn't run through that line. It steps over the line. But step into will go through every line step by step. And the step out, this exits the current function and returns to the caller. So if we are here, x plus 4, we are in complex formula function. So if we click step out, it steps out of the complex formula completely and goes to the next point. So step out to step you out of the function will help you when you have lots of functions and want to skip many lines of code. So you see how to know the flow of your code and know what values you get at every point. So let's minimize this. So finally, let's talk about the third one, which is debugging with Visual Studio Code. So this method is incredibly convenient for back-end or full-stack developers because you have all your code, all your source files with you. You can move between folders and see how they work. And so this is why this is the most important one. But at the end, don't just say, oh, I like this one better. So the technique you use depends on the project and the specific problem you want to find at that point. So if you have not yet subscribed, please kindly hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment. So let's see how to use the Visual Studio Code to debug. In VS Code, you can add breakpoints by clicking on these points next to the numbers. But to enable debugging, we need to create a launch.json file. And here is how to do it. If you see on the left side, you could see different buttons there. So here we see the run and debug. So when you click on this run and debug, we could create a launch.json file. So when you click on this, I'm using Edge. So we need to select the debugger. So we could say web app Edge. If you are using Chrome, you could use web app Chrome. So I'll click on Edge. Okay, so if you see here, you could see launch. Okay, let me minimize this a bit. So we don't need this again. So let me maximize this. Okay, so we get this launch.json file, and you can see the type Microsoft Edge. The request is launch. So launch Edge against localhost. Now you could see the URL localhost 8080, but the problem is my own port is not 8080, so I need to change this. You see the port here on my live server, so you can see the port to be 5500. So I changed the localhost URL to 5500. Okay, I save this. So once this is set up, we can hit the play. So when you hit the play button, you get the debugging tools that we saw on the dev tools for the browser. So you have everything you need here. So you could go into your HTML script and use the debugger there. You go into your app.js script and use the debugger there. So just like we did before, you could do the same thing, put a breakpoint, then put a breakpoint here. You could put many breakpoints for the program to pause at that level. So we click on restart after you put your breakpoints, and then you could see variables. We are paused on this, so you have an arrow-like shape. And when we are paused on this, you could see in the variable part that the result is 71, and then X, because we took in a value of 23. And then here function X is at this point 27. And so when you want to go to the next line, use the step into. So the step into took us to a division, and then after going to the division, it came back to the return. So step into then goes finally to print the result. I click on step into again. So let's restart the debugger. Step into goes to the division function. So you say, oh, at this point, what are my variables? What do I have? X is 71 here, Y is 2. And then to help you easier, you could actually put the console log together with the debugger tools, which is so that I can know what are the values I'm getting at each point. We can say result here, return X by Y. Yeah, so step into goes to return. So I need to restart if I want to get this. So I restart it again, step into. So you see return value, result 106. So basically just follow the same procedure that we did in the first one. I don't want to go through everything step by step again. Try this out using the debugger tools and be patient. Try as much as possible to avoid using the step out of the function call, except you are very, very sure that this actually works. So try them all, find what works best for you. Don't rely just on one method. Debugging is about flexibility and problem solving. So in the era of AI, you need these skills. So before you go, hit the like button, drop a comment about your favorite debugging techniques, and subscribe to Tech with Victor. Your support helps me to create more awesome content and reach a wider audience. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.